All right, welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, and it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Real tragedy.
Hmm.
The fire at the Grand Kartal Hotel, a ski resort over in Turkey.
Right.
Our main source for this is coming from a CBS News report,
Okay.
and this thing is it's devastating. At least 66 people died
Wow.
in this fire.
Oh, that's awful.
Dozens more injured. And, it makes you think, like, how can we learn from something like this
Yeah.
beyond the immediate tragedy?
I think it's really important to remember that those aren't just numbers, right?
Yeah.
Those were people with
Yeah.
families and friends and lives that they were living, and
Yeah.
just cut way too short.
It's just heartbreaking. And the fact that it happened at a ski resort, I mean, you think about people traveling from all over
Right. Yeah.
to these places.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just the logistical challenges alone that first responders must have faced. People who maybe don't speak the language, coordinating medical evacuations, potentially in a mountainous region like that.
Yeah.
And then even just, dealing with international authorities to identify victims. I mean, it's a logistical nightmare.
It's overwhelming to even think about. And, it makes you wonder, like, how does something like this affect tourism in the long run, right?
For sure.
Particularly for places like ski resorts. I mean, could this lead to fewer bookings?
Yeah.
Could it force resorts to implement, tighter safety regulations? And then what does that even look like?
Yeah.
Like, how does that change the industry?
It's definitely possible. I think some travelers might feel uneasy
Understandable.
about going to these resorts. Right. So, yeah, maybe there's a dip in bookings, and that could force the industry to make changes,
Yeah.
Like maybe they invest in more advanced fire suppression systems or ramp up the staff training for emergency situations, really make sure they're prepared. Or even, collaborate with different international organizations to come up with some kind of global safety standards for all these places. It's tough to say for sure what'll happen, but I think it's certainly possible.
And you mentioned the fire suppression systems. It made me think, like, are the building codes and safety regulations, like, specifically for hotels at ski resorts, different than, say, a hotel in a city?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the answer is yes. Ski resorts pose these really unique challenges because of where they're located, right?
Oh.
And the weather conditions they have to deal with, and even the building materials that are commonly used. They've got to account for things like heavy snowfall and the risk of avalanches.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of these places are built with a lot of timber, which can be a lot more flammable than other materials.
All right.
So that means that the regulations might require more serious fireproofing and sprinkler systems that can actually work in freezing temperatures.
Wow.
And even things like designated helipads for quick medical evacuations. I mean, there's a lot to think about.
It's a whole other world. And that makes me also think about our own responsibility as travelers,
Right, yeah.
Like, what can we do
Absolutely.
to be more prepared in case something like this happens?
Yeah.
Especially when we're away from home, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are some practical steps we can take?
Being prepared is really the biggest thing.
Yeah.
When you check into a hotel, make sure you know where the evacuation routes are, like where are the fire exits, where are the stairwells. Don't rely on elevators in an emergency.
All right, yeah.
It's also a good idea to keep a flashlight
Oh, that's a good one.
and a whistle in your room.
I never even thought of the whistle.
Yeah, the flashlight helps you navigate in the dark, and the whistle, if you get trapped,
Yeah.
you can use it to signal for help.
Right. No, those are really practical tips. Like, it's something we don't often think about, but a whistle, I mean, it's tiny,
Yeah.
but it could literally be a lifesaver. And I think this whole situation really just highlights the fact that even in places where we go to relax,
Yeah.
to escape, I mean, the unexpected can still happen.
Yeah, it really can, and it's a terrible thing, but this event, as localized as it was to this one hotel, it could spark a global conversation.
Yeah.
and some real action about hotel safety and individual preparedness.
I think that's a really important point, and it's just this stark reminder
Yeah,
that even as we're enjoying our travels, we have to remain vigilant
absolutely.
and advocate for better safety standards for ourselves, but for everyone else too, right?
Couldn't agree more.
So thanks everyone for joining us today for this deep dive. I know it's a heavy topic, but hopefully it helps us all be a little more aware
Right.
and a little more prepared.
Well said. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening,
Yeah.
What what can we each do to advocate for safer travel environments?
Yeah.
Not just for ourselves, but for the whole community, really. That's a question I think we all need to think about.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again for tuning in,
Thanks, everyone.
and we'll see you next time.
See ya.